Musa confirmed he intends to run for the Egyptian presidency. We'll have the latest from Cairo in a moment. And all the finishing touches are made ahead of Hollywood's Night of Nights. We'll be live at the Oscars right after the break.
Hello again. We're seeing an awful lot of wet weather across the northern parts of Asia at the moment. The heavier downpours are now moving away from the northern parts of China there. So here they'll be cloudy, just 1 or 2 showers to deal with here. Instead, here's that heavier rain making its way across the southern half of Japan. Very heavy downpours out of that. But this should clear as we head through the day on Tuesday. Then there'll still be a lot of cloud around and 1 or 2 showers, but it shouldn't be the heavy and persistent rain. Now, all of that grey weather does extend further south as well. So for the southeastern parts of China, also lots of cloud here as well. That cloud will be capable of giving us 1 or 2 showers. The heaviest of those will be here, just making their way through Shanghai there. Heavy downpours I expect, particularly during the afternoon. Now, a little bit further south, and for the southern parts of the Philippines, the wet weather here really is pepping up. An area of low pressure does appear to be developing, so very wet as we head through the next couple of days here. Elsewhere, there will also be some heavy showers, particularly across Java there. There, it does look very wet, even for Jakarta as well. Now, for Australia, the wettest weather here is still in the far north. Torrentially heavy downpours out of this band of wet weather as we head through the next couple of days, so certainly it's very wet here. Further south, it should be an awful lot drier here. Warm for us in Adelaide, but cooler in Melbourne at 19.
The times change. The instruments evolve. The battlegrounds shift.
This is America! Our country!
But the international struggle continues.
He was murdered!
Uncompromising, hard-hitting investigations.
I can't get no justice from no one in Jamaica.
People and power, at this time on Al Jazeera.
Welcome back. The top story on Al Jazeera. The Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi has told a Serbian television channel that he's staying in Libya. In his latest interview, Gaddafi repeated his claims that foreigners and Al-Qaeda are to blame for the unrest across the country. He also said the UN sanctions against him are null and void, and he warned he will crush the opposition. Reports from western Libya say troops loyal to Gaddafi are preparing for a counter-offensive in the city of AlJazeera. The city's centre is currently in the hands of anti-government forces. Malta's government says it's offering assistance to nationals from 53 countries trying to flee from Libya. Many are flying home, but there are concerns thousands could seek refuge on the island itself. Cal Perry reports from Valletta.
Embassy staff wait in Greece for their nationals to disembark a ferry from Benghazi. People left Libya any way they could. Most seem happy just to be out of the country, regardless of how difficult the journey may have been.
It's great to be out. Very sorry, I suppose, for the people back there. You know, haven't seen what they've gone through in the last week, 10 days. Extremely fortunate to be getting out, and obviously a lot of good friends over there that we're still very concerned for.
But this is where we hear the stories of a situation that seems to be deteriorating by the day.
My neighbor, it's an Austrian company. There were 5 people killed by army. So they are still there, they are stuck, they have no food, they have no transport, as also in my company, all cars have been taken, everything is broken.
Dangerous thing is that there's no control on the country, so a lot of bad people trying to rob everything they can.
The waterfront here in Malta, which is normally bustling with tourists, now basically a holding pen for those who have been evacuated from Libya. And the evacuations continue around the clock, with thousands arriving every day. Unfortunately for many people who made the long journey from Libya, they'll have to remain on board the ship here in port while their governments work out administrative details like visas and flights home. Cal Perry, Al Jazeera, Malta.
Egypt's former Interior Minister Habib al-Adli is to appear before a criminal court accused of money laundering. The hearing is set for March the 5th. If it goes ahead, he'll be the first person from ousted President Hosni Mubarak's regime to face charges. He's also being investigated by the Prosecutor General in connection with the outbreak of violence on the 25th of January. Aides for the Arab League Secretary General Amir Moussa have confirmed that he intends to run for Egyptian president. The Egyptian state news agency made the announcement through its text message service on Sunday. Moussa's office says while he intends to stand, his candidacy won't be official until proposed constitutional changes are enacted. Al Jazeera's Anita McNaught reports from Cairo.
Well, events are moving fast on Egypt's political scene, with the Secretary General of the Arab League, Amir Moussa, announcing that he will indeed, as had been rumoured, he will now put in and stand for election as President of Egypt. That is after the parliamentary elections have been held. That'll be sometime in the next 6 months. This is a man who's enormously popular in the country. He was the country's most popular foreign minister for 10 years, before then taking the very high-profile position with the Arab League. A man who never lost his ties with his country. And a man who was unable to stand for president until these constitutional changes were made to Egypt's political structure. At the same time as this is going on, we see the announcement of a trial date for the former Interior Minister, who is perhaps one of the most disliked figures in Hosni Mubarak's cabinet, a man responsible for the police and the prison service. He's being charged with money laundering and squandering of public money, but many Egyptians are asking if there are not many more serious crimes that should be added to the list.
It's been a year since a powerful 8.8 earthquake struck Chile, and thousands of families are still living in temporary shelters. The government says reconstruction has been rapid, but some residents say they're still waiting for help. Mark Orchard has this report.
A pre-dawn vigil at the epicenter of the magnitude 8.8 earthquake. The keynote to a national day of mourning for all the victims and their families. In the coastal town of Constitución, bells tolled and the names of the dead were read out.
To be here along with all the other families is incredibly painful. Incredible, but you need to know how to stand up.
President Sebastián Pinera has been touring the disaster zone with the message that his government is sparing no expense to rebuild.
As we observe the first anniversary of the catastrophe which struck our country, the reconstruction has been solid, and we have achieved very significant progress and accomplishments.
The country's main highways are nearly back to what they were before the quake. But building new housing for the displaced has been slower. In this camp, residents who lost all their possessions are still waiting for a grant to build a new neighborhood.
We are suffering here. We don't have water for the house. The truth is that there's been a lot of shamelessness here. That's the only way to describe it.
We are all suffering from depression here. This is going nowhere.
Opposition politicians blame the lack of progress on the right-of-centre government's decision to privatize most of the construction work.
The government cannot continue to accept poor workmanship in the service of the public. The methods they have been employing in the Bio region are absolutely outside the law and public morality.
Pinera concedes that the work is running behind schedule, but his government says it will accelerate the outsourcing of work to private companies. Mark Orchard, Al Jazeera.
It's not long now until Hollywood's A-list walk down the red carpet for the annual Oscars. The King's Speech is the frontrunner for this year's Academy Awards, the world's top film honours. And the movie's leading man, Colin Firth, has been nominated for Best Actor. Natalie Portman in Black Swan is a frontrunner for Best Actress. Al Jazeera's Rob Reynolds is keeping an eye on the build-up to the annual Oscars ceremony, and he joins us now right from the red carpet. And Rob, I threw out a few names there, but what's the buzz in Hollywood?
Well, Anand, standing right here at the edge of the red carpet outside the Kodak Theater in Hollywood, where the awards presentation will begin in about 3 hours' time. Now, as you mentioned, the most heavily talked about film in the Best Picture category is The King's Speech. It's won a lot of awards from the Golden Globes and other pre-Oscar award ceremonies. Colin Firth also has won a lot of awards in those pre-Oscar ceremonies. It's the kind of picture many people think that appeals to the people who make the decision, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, about 6,000 people who are in the industry. They're known for having a bit of Anglophilia. They're known for liking a traditional kind of feel-good story, which certainly the King's Speech, a story of a stuttering monarch who overcomes both self-doubt and his own speech impediment and then goes on to help in the fight against Nazism. That certainly qualifies as that. A lot of the other films rather dark, including Natalie Portman's performance in Black Swan. Miss Portman is tipped by many to be the Best Actress winner. She won in that category as recently as on Saturday in the Independent Spirit Awards, which were held here in Los Angeles as well. There are 10 pictures in the Best Picture category. A lot of them are lesser known films, and some of them really rather low-budget films. For example, Winter's Bone, done with only $4 million, which is a real pittance in the era of multi-million, $100 million special effects blockbuster type films in Hollywood. So this year you have a crop of films that are a little bit darker, a little bit more focused on real drama, character, and plot than in the past, for example, with special effects heavy films like Avatar. So again, we will see very soon who's going to come away with that little gold statuette, and we'll be here to let you know.
So Rob, when you talk about lesser known movies and of course low budget movies, is that an indication that maybe trends in filmmaking are changing as well?
Well, very quickly, since I'm running out of time here, Anand, the trends seem to favor going towards an older audience, which is odd because the bread and butter for Hollywood is usually this very young audience that goes to see things with a lot of special effects, science fiction, and so forth. Having said that, of course, the highest grossing film in the United States this year was Toy Story 3, which is a cartoon for kids. So you can't always make generalizations in this. Anand?
What about the California economy, Rob? You know, we hear that it's very depressed. Is this kind of ceremony like this, well, is the movie industry in California going to do anything for that depressed economy?
Very quickly, again, since I'm running out of time, and $130 million is what people estimate the Oscars gross national product will bring to this city, and that includes the Oscar statuettes, which over $800 now are more than twice what they were 5 years ago because of the high price of gold. Anand?
Thanks, Rob. This is Al Jazeera, and these are the stories making headlines. Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi has told a Serbian television channel that he's staying in the country. In his latest interview, he repeated claims that foreigners and al-Qaeda were behind the uprising and dismissing the UN sanctions against him as null and void. Gaddafi warned he would crush the opposition. Reports from Western Libya say troops loyal to Gaddafi are preparing for a counter-offensive in the city of AlJazeera. The city centre is currently in the hands of anti-Gaddafi forces. These are the latest pictures from the city, just 50 kilometres west of the capital, Tripoli, showing tanks seized by anti-Gaddafi fighters. The rebels have also mounted heavy machine guns on the back of pickup trucks. Fresh fighting has broken out in the Tunisian capital, Tunis. Police fired tear gas and warning shots in the capital Tunis to disperse crowds on the third consecutive day of violence. 3 people have been killed and several others wounded in clashes between security forces and demonstrators since Friday. The violence comes as Mohamed Ghannouchi announces he will step down as Prime Minister. He had planned to guide the country to elections in July after President Zine El Abidine Ben Ali was deposed last month. Former Foreign Minister Al-Beji Qaid Al-Sebsi has been appointed in his place. And the crisis in Tunisia has claimed another victim, a diplomatic victim. French Foreign Minister Michel Alliot-Marie has resigned after weeks of pressure over her links to the former president. She flew to Tunisia for a holiday during the unrest in a plane belonging to a businessman linked to Ben Ali. Alliot-Marie also offered French riot police to help quell the unrest. She denied any wrongdoing in her resignation letter. Unrest continues in many parts of the Middle East. At least 2 people have been shot dead by Omani police on Sunday, according to witnesses in Sohar. Tear gas was also used on the demonstrators in